My girlfriend bragged. Other guys would kill to have me. You should be grateful. I smiled. Then let them try. That weekend, I introduced my stunning new date to our entire circle of friends. Her forced smile couldn't hide the anger in her eyes as I, 32 male, had been with Maya, 29, for 3 years. For the last 2, I'd been her designated apologist. She was beautiful, sharp, and funny, but her confidence had metastasized into a suffocating arrogance. My role in the relationship was simply to be grateful. The end came on a random Thursday. It wasn't a fight. It was a statement. She was admiring her reflection in the mirror as we were about to leave for dinner. You know, she said, her tone casual, you're so complacent, Mark. You're lucky to have me. Do you even realize that? Other guys would kill to have me. You should be grateful. For years, I'd absorbed comments like that, little digs, reminders of my subordinate status. But this time, hearing it stated so plainly, something inside me didn't break. It clarified. The constant, low-level anxiety I'd lived with was just gone. I met her gaze in the mirror and smiled. Not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who'd just been given an exit key. Then let them try, I said softly. Her own smile faltered. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're right, I said, standing up. We're done, Maya. The confusion on her face curdled into rage. You're breaking up with me? Over that? Because you're insecure? No, I said, walking to the closet for a duffel bag. I'm just not interested in being grateful anymore. The yelling started then. I was pathetic. I was throwing away the best thing in my life. I'd come crawling back. I didn't engage. I just packed. As I walked to the door, she fired her parting shot, her voice dripping with smug certainty. Fine. But don't forget Liam and Chloe's engagement party on Saturday. It's going to be so embarrassing for you when you show up alone. Everyone will know. She was so sure that public shame was my biggest fear. I'll be there, Maya, I said. Don't worry about me. I left and checked into a hotel. First call, the landlord of our apartment. The lease was solely in my name. I told him my girlfriend was moving out and I'd be changing the locks on Monday. He was fine with it. Second, I thought about the party. She wanted to paint me as the pathetic ex, moping in a corner. She was already writing the script. I decided to rewrite it. I pulled out my phone and texted Isabella, a witty and talented graphic designer I'd met on a work project a few months back. There had been a spark. She'd mentioned she was single. It was a Hail Mary. Me, hey Isabella, Mark here. Incredibly last minute and random, so feel free to say no, but my plans for Saturday night just changed dramatically. Any interest in being my +1 to an engagement party? 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Isabella, Mark, my Saturday just went from rewatching a show to intriguing. I'd love to go. I was concise with the situation. Just got out of a long-term relationship. She'll be there. Might be awkward. Her reply was perfect. A little awkward is my specialty. Consider me your social Kevlar. See you Saturday. I spent Friday blocking Maya's 10th voicemail and getting my head straight. On Saturday, I picked up Isabella. She looked effortlessly stunning in a simple navy dress. The drive to the party was easy, full of laughter. No mind games, no tension. It felt normal. As we walked to the front door, I took a deep breath. Maya thought she was setting a trap. She wasn't expecting me to show up happy. Update 1. The party was in full swing. We hadn't been there 5 minutes before I spotted her, holding court by the fire pit, telling some animated story to our mutual friends, Sarah and Ben. She hadn't seen us yet. She was in her element, crafting her victim narrative. Isabella leaned in close. Target acquired at 9 o'clock, she murmured with a grin. She's perfected the brave little soldier look. You have no idea, I chuckled. Let's get a drink. We deliberately took the long way around the yard, talking to the hosts Liam and Chloe and a few other couples. Isabella was a natural, warm, funny, and engaging. People were instantly charmed. It wasn't long before I felt the familiar weight of Maya's stare. I glanced over. Her story had died on her lips. Her jaw was slack. Sarah and Ben were looking our way with matching expressions of shock. The pathetic ex wasn't behaving as scripted. She recovered in a heartbeat, her expression hardening into a brittle, forced smile. She whispered to Sarah and started walking toward us. A predator's saunter. Showtime, Isabella whispered, taking a sip of wine. Mark, Maya said, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. Her eyes scanned Isabella with a quick, dismissive flick. And you brought a friend. Maya, I said, my tone level. This is Isabella. Isabella offered a warm, genuine smile. So nice to meet you, Maya. Maya's smile was all teeth. Isabella, I'm surprised, Mark. Moving on so quickly. It seems a little desperate. She said it just loud enough for the people nearby to hear. Public shaming. Her favorite sport. Not at all, I said calmly. You were very clear on Thursday. You said other guys would kill to have you. I decided to stop being grateful and let them try. I'm just respecting your wishes. The color drained from her face, then flooded back in an ugly, blotchy red. My public recitation of her own arrogant words had hit home. Her forced smile couldn't hide the anger in her eyes. That's not what I meant, and you know it, she hissed. It's what you said, I replied with a shrug. Clarity is a gift. Now, if you'll excuse us, I think a toast is about to start. I put a hand on Isabella's back and guided her away, leaving Maya standing there, speechless. Later, while Isabella was away, Maya's best friend Sarah cornered me. This is cruel, Mark, she said, arms crossed. Maya is heartbroken, and you show up flaunting this new person. It's disrespectful. Sarah, did Maya tell you why we broke up? She said you freaked out over a silly comment and threw her out of her home. Her home? The lease is in my name, and the silly comment was her telling me I should be grateful she allows me to be her boyfriend. She ended it with her words, I just made it official. Sarah faltered. She was just having a bad day. You're supposed to be the bigger person. There it was, the core expectation. My job was to absorb her abuse. No, I said, my voice firm. I'm not supposed to be the bigger person anymore. I'm supposed to be happy. I'm sorry Maya is upset, but her feelings are a consequence of her own actions. They're not my responsibility anymore. Sarah stared at me, flustered. She had no counter-argument. She shot a venomous look in Isabella's direction and marched back to Maya's side. We left a couple of hours later. As we passed Maya's shrinking circle of sympathizers, her voice cut through the party chatter, sharp and loud. It's just pathetic, honestly. Rebound relationships never last. He'll come crawling back when he realizes what he's lost. He always does. I didn't look at her. I didn't even break stride. Her narrative was no longer my concern. Update 2. The week after the party was a storm of entitlement. Since I'd blocked Maya, the messages came from her flying monkeys. First Sarah, then her mother, Cassandra, who called to inform me of my responsibility to fund her daughter's lifestyle. You can't just throw her out because your feelings are hurt, Cassandra said, her voice like ice. It makes you look weak. Okay, Cassandra, I said, and hung up. I blocked her number too. Then came the social media campaign. Vague, dramatic posts about inexplicable cruelty and healing from betrayal, accompanied by artistic, teary-eyed selfies. The comments were a flood of sympathy from people who only knew her curated online persona. A few mutual friends quietly unfriended me. Good riddance. The real escalation came on Wednesday. An email from HR, subject formal complaint. My blood ran cold. An anonymous complaint alleged I was using company resources for a side business, my woodworking hobby, and that my increasingly erratic and aggressive behavior was creating a hostile work environment. It was pure Maya. She was trying to torch my career. I immediately met with my boss, Richard, and HR head, Linda. I didn't get defensive. I laid out the facts. My ex-girlfriend and I just broke up, I explained. It was not amicable. This complaint is her retaliation. I then showed them a dated note I'd made 6 months prior, after a fight, where she'd explicitly threatened to do this exact thing. Call my boss and claim I was unstable. She threatened this months ago. This is a malicious act. Linda and Richard were grim. They had to investigate, but my transparency and the evidence of a prior threat gave them crucial context. While they reviewed logs, I planned my next move. Her attack on my livelihood crossed a line. The calm, logical approach was over. It was time for a practical, consequential one. Thursday evening, I got a text from an unknown number. Unknown, this is Maya. I'm using Sarah's phone. I'm coming to the apartment Saturday at noon to get my things. A demand, not a request. Perfect. Me Saturday at noon is fine, I replied. Then I made 2 calls. One to a moving and storage company, the other to a high-end consignment shop that specialized in the kind of designer furniture Maya adored. On Friday, HR called me in. The investigation was over. They'd found 0 evidence. The complaint was dismissed and noted in my file as a malicious, non-work-related harassment attempt. Richard clapped me on the shoulder and told me they had my back. The bomb she tried to detonate in my life had been a dud. Now it was time for her to deal with the fallout from her own. Update 3, Saturday morning. The movers arrived at 9 a.m. All of Maya's personal belongings, clothes, books, toiletries, I had already packed into uniform cardboard boxes. Her expensive statement furniture, the velvet couch I hated, the stained magnet marble table, the ugly abstract painting, was moved out professionally. At 11:45, Isabella arrived with pizza, just as planned. The apartment was stark and echoing. At noon sharp, the buzzer rang. It was Maya, flanked by her mother and Sarah, her personal entitlement army. I opened the door. Maya strode in, a smirk on her face that died the second she saw the room. The empty spaces. The neat stack of boxes. "What is this?" she demanded. "Where is my couch?" "Your personal items are in the boxes," I said calmly. "The furniture has been moved to a secure storage unit. I've contracted a consignment shop to manage its sale. Once sold, you'll receive the proceeds minus the moving and storage fees." I handed her a folder. Inside was an itemized inventory, copies of the contracts, and all the relevant contact information. It was cold, corporate, and final. "Storage fees?" her mother shrieked, snatching the folder. "You're charging her to sell her own furniture?" "The professional services are," I corrected. "She can, of course, cancel the consignment and arrange to move the items herself. The first month of storage is paid." Just then, Isabella walked in from the kitchen, holding 2 plates. "Pepperoni or veggie?" she asked me, breezing past them as if they were furniture. The sight of Isabella, so calm and at home in the apartment, sent Maya over the edge. "You!" she shrieked, pointing a finger at Isabella. "You snake! You turned him against me." Isabella just raised an eyebrow. "I'm sorry, have we met?" Maya snapped. She lunged at the stack of boxes, grabbing one and hurling it to the floor. "I am not being erased," she screamed, kicking another. I stepped forward, my voice dropping. "That's enough. Get out." "Look what you've done to her," Cassandra cried. "She's having a breakdown." "She's having a tantrum because she's not getting her way," I countered. "You have 5 minutes to get these boxes out of my apartment. If you damage anything else, I will call the police and have you removed for trespassing." The threat of actual legal consequences cut through her rage. She froze. Her back up looked panicked. I held up my phone. 5 minutes, starting now. That broke the spell. They began grabbing boxes, bumping them into walls, dropping them with theatrical huffs. It was a chaotic, undignified scramble to load everything into Sarah's too small SUV. When they were done, Maya marched back to my door. "You haven't won," she snarled. "Everyone sees you for the petty monster you are, and that little tramp won't stick around." Her face then crumpled with confusion. "Why are you doing this? I loved you." "No," I said, "the truth of it absolute. You loved being in control. You don't even know what love is. Please close the door on your way out." She stared, searching for a crack in my armor. Finding none, she turned and slammed the door. I let out a long breath. It was over. I hadn't been cruel. I had been consequential. Final update. It's been 6 months. The fallout was quiet but total. Sarah tried to rally the friends to Maya's side, but the campaign fizzled. People were tired of the drama. Her husband, Ben, told me their marriage was strained under the pressure of Sarah's full-time job as Maya's defender. The furniture sold piece by piece. Each time I transferred the money to Maya's account and emailed a sterile, automated-looking receipt with the subject, asset liquidation. No message, no emotion, just a transaction. She never replied. The real consequence came from her job. My boss, Richard, later mentioned that our company's legal team had contacted her firm, one of our marketing vendors, about unfounded, harassing actions by an employee. 2 weeks later, Maya's LinkedIn status changed to open to work. By filing a malicious complaint against an employee of a major client, she'd made herself a corporate liability. Her attempt to wreck my career had boomeranged and ended hers. Last I heard, she moved back in with her parents. Her social media is private. Her performance is over, the audience has left, and she's alone with the consequences. As for me, I'm good. The apartment is finally our home. Isabella and I filled it with comfortable furniture, including a coffee table I built myself, and shared memories. Our relationship is a partnership, not a power struggle. It's easy. It's peaceful. The revenge wasn't loud or explosive. It was the slow, inevitable collapse of a world built on arrogance. I didn't push her off her pedestal. I just stepped out from under it and let gravity do the work. She played a cruel game and won the prize she deserved. A life lived all by herself.